Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board Workshop Session. Today is Friday, April 25th, 2025. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mr. Schroeder to give us a review of our two applications that we will be reviewing during our public hearing that will start at 9 o'clock this morning. So, Brett, the floor is yours.
Good morning. So this is a view. Do you have it on their screens?
Yes.
Joel? So this is a view of where the first storage area is going. This is a street view. So this is, you can see some of the stuff that we want to get fixed.
So this is Chutney Express.
This is Chutney Express.
Okay.
So right here's the site plan. This is the area. They will be getting rid of this tree, which they've got plenty on site, so staff's good with that. They intend to put a three-sided with a door, so it should completely block all that stuff. I'm not positive that it has a roof. I think it's an open-top structure. But I don't know that for sure. So I think they went a little bit overboard when I told them to mimic the building, and they brought, you can see here, they brought just everything down. I think this cornice is a little overstated for the height of the wall.
Is that EFS?
It is an EFS one. Yeah. Personally, to me, I think they could get away with removing it completely and just doing a brick soldier course at the top and let it at that. But if you guys think it needs some sort of a cap to it, I'm either way. But I think in scale, this one looks out of whack.
You kind of want it to blend in and go away, right?
That's what I'm thinking. And if it didn't have that, it if you stood way back, it would resemble just another part of the building.
As long as it's got the stone base.
So, yeah, I think if the stone base matches up, and then you can see in this elevation here, see if I can zoom in a little bit. Well, when I zoomed in, they went away. That's weird. You can see that there's some banding in the building, and as long as they continue that around wherever it hits on this building, I think it's fine.
I agree. Can I ask a quick question about the exit door in the plan view?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there a requirement that as you have a door opening that you need a 5-foot landing?
I think it's a
Before there's-
3-foot landing.
It's 3?
I think.
Okay.
I believe it's 36 inch. And I think they're maintaining that in this view here. I believe
I mean,
is
it's a
being
service door, so it's not like it's a,
right. I believe this is being maintained. This part of the sidewalk.
It's a riser
Oh, okay.
for the riser room.
Yeah, so it's, yeah.
Sweet Eddie.
So
The other thing is that as you pull that back from the building, the elevation of that room, I presume, is going to stay the same as the building, right?
yes,
And
so
it
it's going
looks-
to
Yeah,
the stone base needs to stay straight across,
Yeah.
and it'll be a little bit taller than
I was
the
going to
others,
say,
but
it looks like it's going to be more than just a, 8-inch step or something. It looks like it's.
yeah. So I don't know how
But they'll submit that during their,
that'll be plan
Okay.
review stuff. So
And I know that tree that we're looking at that they're going to remove,
yeah, it's in pretty rough shape.
in looking at it the other day, it's like the one that doesn't have any leaves on it. It's
Yeah.
like it's almost, yes, it's not doing very well. And Brett, I did notice that their dumpster area, which is to the right of your picture, is in the collection of trash within
Yeah.
within the enclosure is,
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
it was, Yeah, it looks about twice as bad.
Yeah. Yeah. We've,
I don't know how you enforce that, but just,
it's tough. It's really
and the
tough.
gates were wide open too, so it was like, okay. I mean, if
Yeah.
they were closed, it would,
I've been working with Republic, the trash service for the city here, and trying to figure out a way, something that we can do to our, as some of you are familiar, our standard 700 for commercial dumpsters, and something to do with the closure on the gates that, even if the guy just gets out of the truck and just, hits the gate and then it closes on its own, or, but it's got a lock open. But then I'm just like, I am so tired of telling people, can you close the gate? It's like, well, we do, but the trash guy doesn't. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not gonna do it.
Yeah, so it's got to be something that does it on its own. So, I don't know. We're trying to do
all
something.
right, well,
We need like a universal remote where it just clicks it.
Yeah. Ooh, like the lights that turn green for the fire trucks and stuff.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, we can just flip the switch at like
Yeah, and
9
they're
o'clock in the
all-
morning,
they
and all the
have
dumpster
same-
gates go closed.
They're all on the
Yes,
same thing.
Oh my gosh.
that's awesome, Holly.
I know.
Joel's
why I
like,
get-
no, that'll never work.
That's why I get paid the big bucks.
Until somebody parks in front of one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we hit the button and it closes and just knock somebody over. Yeah, anyway.
Okay.
We got way down the track
So,
there.
so are they doing anything else to that, to Chutney Express? Just
That's it.
this?
That's it. Everything else is already, I mean, they've done signage and they've been in there a while. So I think they've been in there.
Yeah.
Is it like Indian food? What is
It is, yeah. I think the owners have actually been in there maybe 4 years, and they swapped names once in that. It hasn't been Chutney Express real long, but they've been there a little while.
Well, I noticed like the Sauceritos, they still have the Fresh Cantina logo on the side of their awning.
Who's that?
That's-
Oh, on the awning,
The,
the Chutney Express?
yes, on the side awning there,
it? Rough center.
it still says Fresh Cantina. So I'm like, maybe they've
The
just,
Chutney Fresh Cantina?
well.
Yeah, hey, maybe. It's a hybrid. It is a hybrid.
Okay.
All right, 100 North Main's sign package for Holly, I think might be the only one that was on the committee when we looked at signage for downtown. This is Patty that was on our committee with us. Patty's from, she wasn't then, but she's Huxford Sign Company now. She was part of two of our experts on our sign committee when we redid the guidelines for downtown signage.
Yeah,
We
that's me,
used,
Roger and,
yeah, it was Holly, Roger,
think
Pat, maybe.
There was three, we had three people on that committee.
Yeah. Patty was one of the companies that her company's a manufacturer as well. So we used her as an expert witness, you might say. So she did a good job developing this package. I think it fits the building really well. As Richard and I discussed in our quick meeting, there's one little thing that we don't really understand so much is in this sign here. I don't know if that really is a background, or if she just had to lay something on that building to be able to put letters on top of it. Although this makes it look like it's a background, but it probably should fit in there a little bit better, and it may. I don't know. She's got some. Now that I see, she's got some measurements out here at 2 foot. Which I think this is a band right above the windows, and maybe there's another one up there. So it might be a little bit, a couple inches too big or something, that background. So
Do we have a street view of that?
I can get one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just kind of look at that.
It's almost, I think it's like one of the nicest buildings downtown, and even though I'm a capitalist. I believe in, being able to, it's hard to see a sign with a raceway or whatever on
Yeah.
that building.
that
Like,
building, yes.
I,
I
I
agree.
almost wish that if they just had letters on standoffs right on the brick, but I get it, and
Yeah, so they're showing this as a halo illumination, so that, to get a nice glow, you gotta have a smooth surface.
you gotta have a smooth surface. I know, I get it.
I
think-
agree with you, though.
Yeah.
I think they could do just a plate, and we force them to do all the electrical inside,
Oh, yeah.
and you could even put the plate on standoffs and illuminate a little bit behind it.
I think that would look so much, it would look so much less like a retail.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like if it, especially, I don't know, I don't want to mess with their design, but if it was like a dark plate in light letters or.
That's what I was thinking, like a
It
black.
looks super classic, and
Well, let's
can
have
you go
that-
to
let's-
Street View?
Let's have that
Yeah, let me-
discussion.
I don't
get
think
a
Tracy-
street-
I don't think Tracy would like this sign.
No,
Didn't he design this
he
building?
did.
he did.
And the other item on that, we'll get back to it, was that logo, or the area for a logo, Brett. Let's see what
Yeah.
we'll see what the date of
Well, I mean,
the,
he made it to be like a historical looking building, right?
yes, yeah.
Does this building have tenants?
Yes,
Is it full, do you know?
no, it's not full.
I like the standoff idea, even if it was to blend in.
Right above those ones, yeah.
It's just it breaks up the,
All right, let's see how many courses of brick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 courses,
times 8,
wow.
that's.
3
fine.
courses is 8 inches.
Right.
Unless
So
that's a
that's-
different kind of brick. Let's just say,
No, it's standard, I think, so that's 16, like it's about
that's about
18
8,
and a half inches.
maybe 19 inches plus, and then you've got the darker band.
Would they consider another blade sign for that?
They have a blade sign for the
Yeah.
building for a different
For a
tenant.
different tenant,
Yeah.
but for this tenant as well, or no?
I don't know how that would look.
Yeah, I don't want to mess
two-
with their business plan either.
Yeah,
Well, is the entire first floor retail? So is it all retail?
Yes.
So
yeah,
there could be, there will
Yeah.
be multiple of these.
could be multiples.
Was it always made for retail?
Mhm.
Oh, for some reason I just thought it was always.
Retail restaurant. Which could include spa, things like that. I think even in this, when you look at these, this is obviously, and I hate that it's putting this little box up there, but these are depressed.
Yeah,
I think even if with a plate that stood off just a little bit, even if it covered those, I think you would still feel
I
like they're there, even if they were covered on that.
It would-
But
you'd see it goes behind it.
yeah, but you put a box up there, and it's going to feel like you covered it up.
I totally agree.
Yes,
And
I
even
agree.
if you had the standoffs like a couple, 3 inches or so, it creates continuity for the whole cornice
Yeah.
feature.
Yeah, yeah. I think a plate could definitely do it, and she'll be amenable to that. What they need to do, the building owner just needs to pick. This is where the sign's going to go for anybody. Period. Make the hole, and that's that. What we get into in later things is they say, well, the sign company says, well, I can't get to that because they got a hard ceiling. And that space is above the ceiling, or, this or that. So if you make it now, make that penetration, and just lock that electrical box in behind there, then now your sign company's got what they need.
For all of these, do you go into the main door to access all of the?
This
retail?
one, yes, front or back.
Okay, so you go inside and then go into.
Yeah, there's a main lobby, and then you'll go into the different
I guess
There's
that's why I
spots.
didn't realize that.
There's a
it was
really
built
nice
up.
drop-off area inside, like they have a
Underneath, yeah.
drop-off.
Uh-huh.
I mean, amazing. Like they have these tin, like ceiling tiles, and it's really, really nicely lit.
It's very
really well done.
pretty. It's very pretty. Yeah.
Is it the second floor that's The top floor is residential, right? Or no?
No, not in this one. That's in the
Yes, that's-
buildings that's going to be beside it.
That's
Oh,
114 and
was this one
116.
gonna have residential at the
No,
top?
this one never had residential to it.
Golly, I'm losing my mind.
No,
Yeah.
you got, but
It's
We,
been
yeah,
vacant for, or not partially occupied for a while because of the whole,
Cummings Street.
the
or
pole relocation and stuff. They can't get their access to get their CO. So it's literally been done for what, a year and a half?
Yeah.
Probably been done about a year and a half.
And they could only occupy like one floor because they're not allowed to use the back entrance for
Wow.
more than a certain
Well,
occupant
that's
load.
annoying.
Yeah, so the calico cactus is like practically ready to open and
Oh,
can't.
so that's like a real thing. These aren't like.
The calico cactus is a real deal. I didn't look at the other ones to see the other signs, but the calico cactus is a real deal.
Yeah, I think
It's
they've
a-
got leases on the first floor completed, I think.
I think first floor
That's
might be
good.
leased out.
That's
yeah.
good.
I think there's 2 restaurants, but only one of them is done so far. Yeah.
Okey dokey.
Okay, so we'll look at their sign package.
Yep.
All right.
And that is it. And then I think Richard wants to discuss a little bit of stuff, so I guess we'll look at this one real quick here. Now I'm back up. Very nice bracketing. I think these lights, I don't know where she got them, but I feel like they work. Sometimes we look at those brackets and with the lights on them and it's just like, that is just weird. But those look to me like they work.
They look great.
So will each retailer get a blade sign and a building sign?
I mean, by code, they could.
Okay.
I don't know that, I don't know how it's gonna work out just yet.
Do
But but by code, they could.
Does this building have a monument sign or anything? Or will it?
I don't think there's room for a monument sign. However, we also had that at 55 Roswell Street. They didn't have one. Next month, they're here for a monument sign. So we could see it in the future.
Oh, and Brett, I'm sorry, going back to 100 North Main, they've got that logo that they showed on the,
Yeah.
I'm going to say the rear elevation or the,
Yeah.
so we're thinking,
Patty's very skilled at what she does.
What does that say?
She has a landscape
Luga?
architecture degree.
Is that Luga?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that might be the real deal
See,
as
those
well.
2 signs right there, the blade signs, look very decorative, and then the cactus one looks
I know.
very.
Well, it looks appropriate for the
For the
design of the building.
Yes.
It complements.
Yeah.
Yeah, the calico cactus needs a little,
It's.
I don't know what it is,
Little
but it
flair.
needs,
Yes,
yeah, it needs
flair.
something.
There's
That's
your
a good
word.
word.
That's a good word.
Technical word.
Yes,
Ooh.
your
Character.
architectural word.
Just don't show us flair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flair.
So I,
Flair, I'll write that one down.
Yeah. That comes from the Jennifer Aniston and what was that movie?
yeah, oh, yeah,
Oh, and,
Office Space.
Office Space.
Office Space, yeah,
Great movie.
yeah.
Get some flair. You know what you can do with your flair.
Nobody has suspenders on, right? So we don't have to have our buttons or anything. Okay.
You need more flair.
Yeah, just take a look at that
Let's
logo.
look at that
If you can
logo
find where that
thing,
logo
yeah.
was. I know it was on one of the,
We saw it in
keep scrolling.
in the
up.
elevations when the building was
There it is, right?
going to be built. But right here on the second floor, technically, of the parking
I
deck,
guess that is the second floor, isn't it?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's,
they've got this. So now that could be signage for one of the restaurants if they had, like let's say they're showing two calico. We looked at Luga and Calico Cactus, so both of those have taken up their wall sign. You only get one. So if they had a third, they could put it there, or another tenant could go there. I think the intent of this was not necessarily a logo. I think Tracy wanted this as a logo for the building.
that's what I was thinking. I was gonna say.
That the building was going to have a name and that was going to be this instead of putting it at the top of the building. And I think that would work. So it's going to be tricky. It's going to depend on what they come to me with for this. If it's a mural, something for the building, then we'll have to send it over to the Arts Committee. If it's signage, it'll likely come here. But I mean, we've seen some great painted signs on brick, some of that thermoplastic
Heat.
Like mercantile social.
heat transfer stuff, so it maintains the consistency of the brick basically, or the details. So we'll see. So that one is to be determined.
I think, is there a distinction
You come in.
with the fact that that location it's not internal to the building, but it's internal to the development because it's on the backside and it's in the elevated parking area? Does it get any kind of grace because of that? No. And the other thing I was going to ask was really understanding what that is will kind of determine its level of appropriateness.
Exactly.
So are they going to come back with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless it doesn't come in the package. This is the only thing. So I don't think
Got it.
Patty's prepared to say what that's going to be yet. So I think they'll know they'll have to come back with that.
Yeah.
If it comes forward. It may have just been an image that they got from the originals of Tracy's and just used that and didn't even realize it. But
We've done projects with this similar type of architecture, and for things like that, we've actually done plaques. It's a little more historic and like distinguished looking.
yeah, I think a plaque would work well. It depends on the reveal of the brick. If it's for that like vinyl adhered, if it's deep, it doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
It
Looks
just
weird.
it looks weird. But if it's fairly close to the front where a guy would have painted over it, and you didn't see that half-inch back in and out each mortar joint, then I think the vinyl looks looks good. It's going to depend, but I think a plate would be great there.
Like we have on this building. And there a plaque in front of it?
Well, it's like a dedication plaque or,
Yeah, there is a dedication plaque on the front.
but this looks a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, from a historic perspective, you
Yeah.
see a lot more on a building that this is like a,
And I like the oval, circular, whatever that is. I think that really works with the architecture. Everything else is so straight and
Rectilinear.
perfect angles and stuff. So I like it. We'll just see what if it comes forward, it'll come here or Arts Commission, one of the two. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Brett, for that. Yes, I did want to bring up before the board members this morning, we have Design and Review Board ordinance and guidelines, and we from time to time, we tweak those. The last time we tweaked those was 8 years ago, and I think it's time we need to look at those again and make some changes. You look at design, themes have changed. We're looking we've seen a lot more painted brick, for instance. How do we address that? We've got some new materials that have come into play. We've got some other guidelines. We've got the downtown guidelines that have come in. We've got the eco district guidelines. So how do we complement those guidelines with what we have in our package? So I'd like us to take maybe break into a couple committees, maybe like 2-person committees, and take a look at what's in our guidelines right now, whether it's landscaping or signage or exterior elevations. And we'll get comments from staff too, because you deal with this on a daily basis, and see what we need to do to tweak our guidelines.
I think we really need to, not that you guys have to be in the code, but the code for whatever section committee you might get on, I think it would be beneficial for you to take that code and read it one time, take it to bed with you, because it's going to put you to sleep, trust me. you know, but just read through it one time, because I think when you read through something one time and then you go over to your guidelines that you know and you've heard and different things a little bit more, I think the crossover that I get a lot of times is, well, your guidelines say this, but your code says this. What do I do? So I think we need to make sure that we're not, the guidelines can be less or more, but not contradictory.
Yes, yep. And so the process will be, we would make the reviews, then kind of come together, make the suggestions amongst ourselves, make sure we're in agreement with that. And then because it's an ordinance, we have to go before city council for 2 meetings, a first reading and then a second reading, and hopefully they approve that at the second reading. So it usually takes about 6 months or so. So I'd like to have something enacted before the end of the year, if that's have a deadline or a goal. So think about that.
So code is code, I mean, that's
Yeah.
black and
Code's
white.
code, yeah.
And then, but our guidelines are
Well,
suggestions.
Guidelines are suggestions, so you can suggest that somebody goes above the code and give them good reasons why.
Okay,
Code's minimal.
yeah.
Code is
Okay,
minimum. Think of it that way. Code is the minimum. But a better design, as I know Jennifer and Richard have probably heard, a better design can trump code.
and,
You know,
in our
and we do
language-
that as staff all the time. It's like, well, this is a better design than what the code says. Say, you know, Pat kind of talks about, let's not do the marching soldiers. Well, the marching soldiers, I believe it was, but I don't know if it is right now, Jennifer, but the street trees, is that still 25 on center, whatever?
Well, it depends on the type of tree you use and the spacing.
But
Yeah.
the street tree and the repetition of it is still part of the thing. Where Pat says, hey, why don't we group some better stuff together here, leave a nice opening, group some better stuff. So that's a design guide, that kind of that thing, you know. So if you're on the landscape, then you give them some thoughts of, you know, hey, if you grouped these trees, maybe you do some overstory, you get your understories, you get all of that maybe right here in this kind of a grouping. That's yeah.
Like an example of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as we break into these committees, obviously, we can't have 4 people on a committee because we have a quorum and a public meeting. So we can break into 2 or 3 individuals per committee if we want to do that. So I think landscaping is always a big one that we need to look at. And then exterior elevations and materials. I don't know that site planning needs much to that, but and then signage, how we deal with signage. We've got a lot.
I think you've got a good group that I think, just as staff's suggestion, maybe Holly and Frank tackle the make sure that we're on signage, and then, you know, maybe they split up then and become part of architecture and landscaping. I think we've got, you know, 3 experts on landscaping, 2 experts on architecture. So I think it only works for you guys to talk about architecture, you 3, Pat's not here, but you 3 to talk about landscaping, see where that can become better. And Holly and Frank tackle the signage and site plan, lighting, different things like that.
Well, let's do this. So why don't you think about that? Just email me your kind of choice on what you'd like to look at on the guidelines, and then we'll try to come back next month and have, you know, create these committees, and then we can get started. So if you'll do that, that'll be
That's a
great.
good idea.
So I think, again.
Good idea, Richard. That's why
Well,
you're
it's
chairman.
been 8 years. You know, we adopted these guidelines in 1990,
I agree.
1994. So they've been around for
I remember going through these guidelines last time, but
You
it
know.
doesn't seem like it was 8 years.
31 years. We've had these in place, and we've adopted. You know, we've made tweaks.
Don't
and
date yourself.
No. Okay, all good. With that, anything else? With that, let's adjourn the workshop session this morning. Go get our coffee cups filled, and let's get back here in just a couple minutes to get our public hearing started. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, just think about All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board public hearing. Today is Friday, April 25th, 2025. Welcome, good morning, everyone. Just a gentle reminder, if you'll make sure you silence your cell phones or your iPhones, please, or turn them off. That would work wonders. All right, our first order of business is roll call. Looks like we have, well, we're missing Mr. Swing and Mr. Corkle, but we do have enough for a quorum this morning, so thank you for being here this morning. I know this is an off-month meeting because we did not meet a regularly scheduled time frame last Friday, which was Good Friday, but thank you for being here this morning. Okay, let's see. Do we have, let's do this. Let's stand, we'll face the flag and have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you for that. All right, next up is, do we have any items from staff this morning? Anything from staff?
I just need to read the public hearing procedure
Okay, all right, Ellie?
to the room. I'm going to paraphrase. Any person that comes before the board has to state their name and address, identify themselves, and before proceeding with any comments or remarks. And the board will allow the proponents a total of 10 minutes to speak in support of an application, and that includes the applicant presentation. Opponents will be allowed 10 minutes to speak in opposition, and then it's up to the chair if he would like to allow more time. Thank you.
All right, Ellie, thank you for that. Anything else from staff this morning? All right, nothing from staff. Anything from board members this morning? Any anniversaries, birthdays, celebrations?
My birthday is Sunday.
It is. Well, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
You gonna do anything fun?
Huh?
You gonna do anything fun?
Going out.
I do know that between now and our next meeting is the Taste of Alpharetta event, so that'll be Thursday, May 8th. So I know, look forward to seeing all of you and another 40,000 people or so in downtown Alpharetta for that event. So.
Always favorite event.
All right, very good. Okay, then let's jump to the next item on our agenda, and that is to review and approve the meeting minutes from our March 21st, 2025 Design Review Board meeting. I assume everybody's had a chance to review the minutes. I did find just two very, very minor corrections, and those were under the Stonewood Village out parcel, some of the motions that were made, or at least the way the motion votes were tallied. The last two motions, one for the elevations and materials, and then to approve the landscaping, it's noted that it was 4-0 was the vote. But I know that Jennifer Sprayberry, you recused yourself from all of those motions, or that entire package review. So those two last motions should be reflected as 4-0.
I can correct those, thank you.
Okay, very good, Ellie. Thank you for that. But other than that, these minutes are fantastic, so thank you for keeping up with us and writing it all down. Is there anything else on the meeting minutes? Okay, can I get a motion to approve from someone, please?
I move that we accept the exemplary minutes from our prior meeting with the notations involved, brought forth this morning. End of motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Owens, a second by Ms. Sprayberry. Any further comments or questions about the motion on the floor? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board meeting minutes from March 21st, 2025, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed? No opposition, so our minutes are approved 5-0. All right, very good for that. All right, on to new business this morning. Our first application or applicant is Chutney Express.
Mr. Chairman, they're not here yet. I have not heard from them, so if it's okay for now, let's, if we can move the second agenda item up, and we'll hear that one and give them maybe a little bit more time to show.
Okay, let's do that then. All right, I assume the next applicant is here this morning, so, all right. So let's hear from 100 North Main Signs. If the applicant is here, which you are, come on up, please. If you'll make sure you speak into the microphone, introduce yourself this morning, and then give us an overview of what we have in our packet today.
Great.
please.
Thank you. I'm Patty Huxford. Thank you for seeing me this morning. I am with the Huxton Group. We're located 5715 North Commerce Drive, Alpharetta. I'm here on behalf of LaRue, I guess the LaRue Development for 1 Main Street. The building is completed, as you've seen in the pictures. I know you guys have taken a look at this already. They are struggling with waiting on the DOT to do a little work before they can actually put their main entrance in, which will change a little bit about the way the front of the building looks, but the building itself is complete. They have, I believe, 2 tenants on some of the upper floors. They cannot put their lower floor tenants in, which are the ones that really pertain to the signage that we're talking about today, until they finish up some other additional work, is my understanding. But I did send a new, I know y'all reviewed what I had. It was Calico Cactus was the tenant showing. That lease has since, well, that's a good place. The lease has since been canceled. That's not working out for them, so they don't have those 2 bottom floor restaurants yet. So as of right now, we made up a name for this presentation, and kind of made a change in that the Calico Cactus had a little tagline, and we think that was too much on such a small sign. There's very little space on this building for signage. I don't think they considered that at all in the architecture of having retail tenants in this building. There's very little exposure for the tenants, but it is what it is. So the 2 things we've got are the long band tenant sign that you looked at for Calico Cactus, a pedestrian blade sign for each tenant. There will only be, as of right now, those 2 main tenants on the bottom floor that would get signage. And then if you...
So is this, I'm sorry, what we're looking at now on our
Yeah,
monitors?
let's look at
on the
this.
screen?
The red marks to the right are really the 2 tenant signs. If you're looking at the front of the building, that's the one y'all were looking at where the Calico Cactus was shown. The other side of the building for that tenant, there is no place to put a sign on the front of the building because of the architecture of the building. So we're going to come around the corner. There is a flat spot. It doesn't do him much going southbound, but at least he would have some northbound visibility. And there's a small park there, an outdoor seating area that they've put there. So there would be some visibility from downtown and going northbound on Main Street. The 2 little green spots are blades, the small pedestrian blades, like a 6 square foot blade. And then the blue spots are all possible opportunities for murals. I know he wanted, once the main driveway goes in, there'll be a lot of foot traffic coming up from the neighborhoods that come through that wide, which will be that wide sidewalk that comes up to, right along there. So he thought back on that left corner, maybe he puts a mural that has the 1 Main Street logo and possibly some tenants. That hadn't been designed yet. But I know murals are kind of a cool old school way of doing signage. So that's what those blue marks are. But you see the tenant on the front left has no place to put a sign. And that big tree is not there. So that's why we were going to show one down the left-hand side for that tenant.
So going back, I'm sorry, Brad, if you go back, so that rendering or that elevation, so the areas, can you just point out where the areas or the locations of the building sign? Okay, it's in that band
Yeah,
around the,
around the corner.
okay. And are these 2 locations, the retail locations, are they going to be restaurants?
They are.
Or are they something? Okay, so
They are.
They
He's
restaurants.
actually having to dig in, I believe, grease traps in the parking, underneath the parking right now.
They didn't put them in originally, huh?
I know.
Yikes.
would
Okay.
the blade signs go on this?
I think, right, well, there's the big blade, which they already put steel in, pre-put steel, and I don't, not real sure why they did that prior to discussing this, but it's in. But the smaller blades would be more pedestrian and go on the front of the building, about where, right there, and on the other side, or on either side of the door for those two downstairs tenants. It's a very small sign band. I don't think, so this page, Brett, you didn't have in the original thing. I'm sorry I didn't get this to you faster. I met with him just yesterday. He just wanted to put a plaque in the concrete. As you're walking by, there's nothing that identifies this building. So wanted to put a etched stainless plaque in the concrete.
Is that,
cool.
Brett, can you scroll up? Is that, no, I think it was on this page. Just scroll up a little bit, right? Keep going, there, okay.
Yeah. Something to that effect. But it buried, we would cut out the concrete, so it would be flush in the concrete.
Just be careful that it's something that's not very slippery when it gets wet. or-
Correct. Somebody brought that up to me when I was talking about this. It's brushed stainless.
Lessons learned.
I may need to do a little more research on that, and maybe we change that surface.
It's possible that they might have to cut out from joint to joint, because it'll be really difficult to just, especially with the nice little chamfers you have on the corners, like that might be impossible to cut out, so they might have to cut out that center section, which might be easier.
Yeah, and then re-pour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know that we've had one of these in the past. Is this a sign, is this considered a sign? Or what is it called?
Address?
A welcome mat?
Yeah. Permanent
That's just
welcome
an
mat.
address. Tracy
Okay.
Ward, the building designer, asked me about it, and I said,
Oh, you did?
yeah, I think it's
I like it. I think
like
it's kind
it
of
too.
neat.
awesome, and he wants to try and incorporate it in some more of his buildings,
Next door. Yeah.
after, next door and after the fact on some of his other ones. That people have asked him about them, and so he did some historical research on them and found some good things where they did them, not necessarily up on the building, although this one has a little like dedication, sandblasted thing on the building, but some good historic reverence to doing it in the concrete. I think it's awesome. I like it.
It is a great idea. Some cities do that at corners
Yeah,
for street names.
I
That's
like
nice.
it.
I like it. I like it too.
Well, that's something to
It's neat.
consider in our guidelines as we make some either tweaks or changes, we can, okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
address
I mean,
this.
It's the perfect pedestrian thing.
Sure,
You know,
yeah. I
so-
agree.
Okay,
I do have one comment on that. So if we're inlaying the plate, we may also consider adding, to Eric's point about the chamfers, maybe doing something fun with the control joints and maybe a pattern in the concrete, because I think eventually it will start cracking in those
Yeah.
corners. So that's something to
good point.
consider over time. I think you'll start getting cracks at those corners. So it might be fun if we have to replace the concrete around there to do maybe like
Some
at
diagonal.
at the bottom of the stairs, maybe some fun scoring in the concrete to provide those control joints.
Yeah, maybe bring
To
those.
control the
Oh, that's a
crack.
good idea.
lines
Good point.
all the way out and all the way up.
Yeah,
Or
just
you
some
can-
kind of pattern or like a
Corner to
grid
corner.
or, even just with a scored band in that, square at the bottom of the steps. But
good
it
point.
could be done in
Yeah,
a way
I
that looks
agree.
good.
I think that could look,
Yeah.
that's gonna highlight kind of that whole, instead of
That
just a little
stairway,
square, it's
yeah.
gonna be that whole 6 or 8 foot.
That would be
thing.
really cool.
And you
That's a good
have like
idea.
that grid in the window up top, so you could maybe pull that down
Oh.
as a pattern into the bottom of the stairs there.
Look at Jennifer doing some.
Yeah.
Oh, that grid would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roughly how big is that welcome? Or
The
that-
plaque, I think we've drawn at 2, if you scroll back up, I want to say around 2 by 3.
Okay, yeah, it is, all right, okay,
Nice size. Okay,
very good, okay.
great ideas there.
All right, So this also got added.
And we added a monument sign.
Oh, there it is.
Just for future, I mean, so that it would be in there for future discussion. He has nowhere to put this until all of the DOT is done. I mean, he doesn't want to even consider it. But we sort of envisioned this, you know, the 1858 big, thick letters that we built. Some thick fabricated letters, just non-lit letters with the address. The tenant, I mean, the landlord would like to have tenants on it, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't see that happening really on such a small sign in that place. They would be so small that people would, to me, it's a hazard to have little copy on a sign that you can't read, so I didn't put them on there for them.
If someone is looking for this address, it's not going to be hard to miss it.
No.
That's the idea, right?
Yeah.
And what's the proposed location of this monument sign?
If you keep going down somewhere, it has to be in that landscaped area, in the landscaped area there, to keep it behind the right-of-way or the DOT workspace, so. And
My
the
only comment
driveway
was-
that's there now, I don't know if you have actually looked at it very closely. It will get wider. It will encroach more on this side of the building. When that next building that's being built right now is completed, they will have a shared driveway, so it's going to be a pretty wide lane there. So I don't think we can really talk about exact location or even doing this until the DOT is done. And who knows when that will be.
Anybody's.
We're hearing it may be a couple more years.
He was telling me he thought it would be a few months, and I'm like, okay, well,
You just keep
Good
that
luck.
2026 is
positive
what
attitude.
matters.
Oh, so that's next year.
I have, in just sort of seeing this, I have, just real quick, two things. Patty made a mention to 1858. If you're not familiar with that, that's the, 1858 is the town hall project that we did we looked at actually, on
Coming.
Coming?
Yes.
Cumming
Yeah.
Street. Patty's company did the really nice, turned out, art feature / signage
It's very smart.
Thank you.
that's in there.
Yep.
Thank you.
And it's really unique. I would, if you haven't seen it, drive by, pull in, take a look at it. It turned out awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, that was the reference to the 1858. It's got really thick letters and you'll see.
It's nice.
My comment about this though, to me, and I know this is just an image and there's something laid in
Looks too
there.
big right there.
It looks too big.
It looks too big to me, too.
Too thick,
Too high.
too
tall,
too,
yeah.
it just looks too much for the small area.
Yeah.
I like that there'll be a sign there. I think that does help. Yes, I agree, Mr. Owens, that I think everybody's gonna know what the place of this building is if you know what 100 is. But drive by, they're not gonna see the 100 up at the top. So I think it would be good to get a sign down here. I think we're just gonna have to really think about the scale.
Yeah, I think we were looking to, all the way up Main Street right now are small monuments that either have been there for a long time or have been added after all the DOT work, but they're small, and I think that's what we had in mind
Yeah.
with just the address on it.
Yeah, I think that it looks like you're trying to reflect the height of the water line of the building with the brick base that you have.
Yes.
But I agree with Brett that it just seems a little too tall and high and, but
The
Act-
landscaping is there, maybe somebody on the board might be able to remember that and help us out, but, I feel like it would be a good spot for a sign without really a visible base, and do something where, sort of like if you go by and look at 1858, where we really just focus on the numbers. And you gotta have a plate between them, so that it
Right.
reads right from both sides. So you gotta have something in there, but I feel like just the 100s sort of standing there, and maybe it's turns the other direction, so that we can just do no background, and they're just a 1 and a 0 and a 0.
Like the 1858.
Just, you know,
I
sort
guess
of
we
that
don't have,
art piece, yet signage kind of thing all in one.
Well,
we
let me
don't have a
throw,
picture
let
of
me,
the 1858, do we?
I'm gonna throw a wrinkle into this a little bit. I think if they had a light base to this sign, it wouldn't be as predominant with some landscaping at the base. So I think if they go with the lighter color brick at the base, and I think it kind of fits.
I still feel like it needs to be a 1/3, 2/3, like the base, 1/3 of the height, and then the sign 2/3. I feel like it looks a little bit like almost 50/50.
Heavy on the base.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you're saying if it's 6 feet tall, then,
2
you know,
feet
2
base,
feet base and then
4
a
foot.
4
If you
foot
go
sign.
back to the
so-
actual sign drawing,
Where's the 1858 signage?
yeah,
Like where?
it's at 6 feet, but I agree the base could be a little smaller.
The park?
There's a park area.
It's right on the street.
But we do need some ground cover at the base of the sign. That's one of the items
Yeah, and we don't know what, I don't know what that landscaping is.
Well,
Jennifer, did you do that landscaping? Do you remember it all? or-
It's just lower, it's at the front of the bed there, and can you go back to the picture of the front? I think we just had some really low, it kind of gets a little higher, so it's layered from the front to the back, and so your taller
So
materials.
this.
That's all low,
This is an actual picture.
yes.
There's a nice fire hydrant right
Zoom
there.
in on that.
And to the right, there's just a bed of flowers, right? But we're gonna lose that. And until the driveway goes in, I'm not sure what the final
Yeah,
look will be.
and the landscape was done before a monument was planned there, so it probably need to be kind of redesigned at that front corner and around when
I'm
everything's
sure they would do something
laid out.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think having the landscape architect on the board would help
I think we
Patty
hold
figure out that,
hold on.
yeah.
what needs to go around it and orientation and all that. I like the sign there. I think this one just needs a little bit of, this particular one needs help, but I think there's opportunity to do something even better, so I like it.
I guess that silver power pole is permanent right there, right?
This
mean,
is
that's a new
permanent.
one?
This is permanent. This is not. This will go away.
Yeah, and the wires will go up, right? I mean, the wires will,
The wires should go up a little bit, but I don't think
that's so
there's a
unfortunate.
great push to get them really high.
That's really unfortunate.
They don't care.
It's very expensive to
Yeah.
relocate those.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't think the next pole down is set yet, because that would be in front of what's getting built now. So I don't think we can even really tell about where they're gonna be, but this one is a permanent, this one are a permanent pole.
Oh, sorry.
All right, well, I think with the uncertainty of kind of DOT and what the final stuff that DOT's doing, we can just kind of hold on the monument sign for now, for today at least. And
I just wanted to throw it in so that y'all could
Okay.
see that we did want to, in the future, possibly put something there.
Okay.
Like I said, he talked tenant signage. I'm like,
Yeah, if you can talk about tenants.
I already said no. I said no.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we've got the welcome mat sign, we've got the monument sign, and then,
Now we have
All right.
retail.
okay,
And really, the two tenants and then the vertical sign are the only two opportunities that we really need. We made up a name because the cactus is gone, calico cactus is gone. Brett and I were just talking briefly about colors. Obviously, there's no tenant to present us any colors yet. We're inclined to think maybe we should dictate that these go on a darker background against the lighter brick. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but if we need to restrict the colors to, say, X, Y, or Z for the background, we can certainly put that in here.
I had a question, and this is we didn't discuss this at our workshop, but it kind of dawned on me as I was thinking about the architecture of the building, and this is, in my opinion, one of the nicest buildings in downtown. Was there, when you were designing this, was there any consideration to do just like metal standoff letters with like gooseneck lighting in lieu of halo lit?
Sure. I mean, we talked about non-lighted. The drawback for any landlord is individual letters on the building creates a multitude of holes in said building, whereas putting them on some kind of pan or background, I mean, even a non-lighted letter, I would recommend go onto some kind of background, because now you're putting 4 to 6 holes in your building rather than a whole bunch that may or may not be covered up by the next tenant.
The concern is just that with the limited height, only 20 inches for that band, anything that you put on a background is going to like interfere with you got this beautiful classical building with like, applied sign band on it. It was just a thought, like, and I know that might create some complexities on how you do gooseneck lights, but it would allow the entire architecture of the facade to flow behind it, and it wouldn't interfere. It's just a thought. I don't know if anyone else had any thoughts on that.
No, with the architectural character of the building, so, I mean, it's fantastic. We're just trying to make sure that the signage kind of replicates or complements the
Agreed.
architecture. And how do you do that without kind of covering up some of it and just putting a blank panel behind the individual letters?
So Patty, this is the area, right? This brick area, not
Correct.
this.
That's correct, the brick area. It's a very limited space. Like I said, I don't think they considered signage or tenants when they were.
Who was that architect?
So I think for visibility purposes for these two tenants, a lighted sign, even if it's halo lit, is going to be really important for them.
I sort of see where your thought process is, but because there's no other gooseneck lighting on this building, I almost feel like that we can't start that with these. That's just my thought.
No, I
I
understand.
agree.
And I see Patty's point, because I tried to deal with that on lots of signs, So Calico Cactus is 10 letters. Each letter is going to have at least 4 standoffs in it, so that's 4 holes for that one letter. Yes, it looks tremendously better without a background. But in an ephes, we could get them to paint the whole thing. We could just paint the band end to end or whatever.
Yep.
We can get rid of it at that point. But in the brick, it just is, I don't like it, but my suggestion would be, let's not do a pan. Let's do a plate.
Okay.
And you could even stand the plate off and potentially even do one row of LEDs sort of in the middle of the plate where you wouldn't even really see it, and halo illuminate the plate as well.
Okay, but not the letters?
And then
Oh,
come
and then
through it and put halo letters in front of the plate. You wouldn't have to illuminate between the plate and the building, but you could.
Right. I just don't want to see wiring, if
Well, if
you're
you keep
standing on that end looking,
Yeah,
because
if you
every
keep it
letter
close
has a
enough.
wire and a wire and a wire and a wire to go from letter to letter to letter, and your power supply box. So I just don't want to be able to see in there and without a return and see all that wiring. Hence the reason for the
Can
pan.
the wiring be in the building? I know each letter is gonna have to have its thing and come out through the building, so you're gonna see one penetration, but now, we have a good opportunity now in the landlord saying, this is the place for your sign, let's make the penetration and put the power
We
supply
can
and stuff like that inside the
You
building.
can actually put the power supply in there, but each letter will then wire to the next letter and the next letter and the next letter. So you'll still have lots of wires on the back of the panel.
Okay, so instead of, because I'm thinking if the panel meets the building, that's where I think it looks different to me. Maybe the panel turns, but doesn't attach to the building.
We can do the returns of the panel inset on the back. So the box on the back is smaller than the panel on the front. So the panel looks like it's floating, but behind it, there are returns to hide all the wiring.
That works.
Yeah, then the panel just looks like it's floating on the building, but all the wiring is still housed.
I think.
Safely
feeling
housed
like
inside
I
a pan.
see that brick go behind that thing, even though if you put a flat panel up there, I know it's behind there. But I think being able to catch it at an angle that it looks like that sign is floating is a better.
Is there a way to leave at least a couple, I know you only have 20 inches, but is there a way to limit the height of the sign to leave a couple of inches at the top and the bottom within that masonry? I mean, it restricts it and it's smaller, and, you know, the previous submission that was in our packet had, you know, additional text underneath the sign, but if you just,
I think we do away with that.
I think if you do away with that and maximize the letters and let like 2 inches on the top and bottom so the brick flows, I think that.
So you would be saying.
16 inches.
16-inch background.
16-inch background.
What, Patty, a
14 max,
14-inch
yeah.
letter?
Yeah.
I mean, would that work?
I mean, it's certainly doable.
Do you guys, I mean,
So if you did a 14-inch capital letter, what's your, you know, what your small letters? Because
They're gonna be
halo,
7 to 8.
is that enough to get halo illumination in it?
It depends on the letter style, yeah. If it's a real block, simple letter style, yeah, we could make that work. Or we can do a push through with an opaque face. You know, where you just push your acrylic through and then you opaque the face of the acrylic, so you still only have a halo light around the edge of the acrylic. You don't get the depth of doing a fabricated letter, but you get the lighting.
And that would be something that'd be easier to do if it was a script or something
Absolutely.
like that, where if they didn't want a block letter, would go with that, you could do the other style. But
Yeah.
if they wanted like the Luna or whatever you had there as a script kind of thin thing, you could do that as a push.
Yes, and then opaque the face, so you don't see the light from the front.
So, just thinking of the potential types of, or names of restaurants that could come in. You've got somebody like, I'm just gonna make this up, Ruth Chris Steakhouse and Seafood. You could have, that would encompass that entire band above the window, right? If you had something like that, I mean, instead of a.
I think we need to, we would probably tell this particular tenant or this particular landowner, this is the maximum length of this plate, and maybe we go, you know, half, like half window to half window.
Is the maximum
Is
area.
the maximum length, and then they just have to make it work. If it's Ruth Chris Seafood and Steakhouse, it might just have to be Ruth Chris.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
it is.
so you're saying of the 4 windows from the center line of the first to the center line of the fourth?
I would think that in my scale thought, that would be maximum.
Max, yeah.
Because if you turn the corner for the other restaurant sign, you're not gonna get
No.
half of that.
Yeah, so I think in this particular case, because there's really only gonna be 2 ever, I think we could call it out and say, that's your max. This is your max. This is your max height. And go with that. And Patty can put that right in her sign package, then that reminds me when I look at it, and we go with that.
I do
Right.
like Mr. Rowan's comment that we have some sort of border around the sign that you
To
can
let the
see,
brick
to show so at least you see the brick that's
Yeah.
there.
Not to throw a wrench in it, but you know, those blade signs have gooseneck lights on them.
Yeah, but that's kind of, they're not on the building, so to speak.
I know, I
That's-
just was,
that's-
Yeah, but,
I was just trying to think of lighting, and it just,
yeah, you're right. Well,
I just wanted to throw a wrench in it.
maybe we, you know, I mean, Patty's company's pretty
I
good.
wanted to
so-
continue to-
I didn't hear what she said, so.
She said that the blade sign you were showing has gooseneck lighting on it.
Yeah.
when we were talking about.
I just wanted to participate
Yeah.
in the conversation.
Thank you for participating. Okay.
I think I'd be comfortable if the masonry was able to be seen, even just 2 inches, I think that would be good.
And do you like the idea of recessing the returns on the pan so that
Yeah.
it looks more like it's floating?
Yes.
So when
know
we, I will present back when we get done here, write a sign criteria for the landlord
You
to
said
incorporate.
So it would, the pans would recess?
Yeah, so the face would be here, but the pan would be smaller behind it. So from the front, you wouldn't see the returns of the pan. If you stood on the side, you would see a return, you won't see wiring. But that would house all the wiring. So maybe it's recessed another 2 inches. You've got 2 inches of brick, and then you come in 2 more inches before we put our return on the pan. That looks kind of cool anyway.
Yeah. I mean, even though you'll see the return, you'll still see that part of the brick.
You'll still see that it looks like it.
Yeah.
Floating almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then let's look at the blade signs.
Do we need to look at the south elevation to determine a maximum length of that
Let
one?
me see if there's a
I don't think I have a straight
photo that's
on.
an actual in here. Do you know, Patty?
No, it's not of the south elevation. I
Let
did-
me go back and see.
So I will figure out what that mid-window to mid-window is and call out a maximum length for that sign.
Yeah. This is the best I'm gonna be able to do, but I think it gives enough that we can do the same thing,
Yeah.
mid-window to mid-window.
Okay, they just have one less window.
Yeah.
And then there's that unfortunate green box.
So Patty, would you feel comfortable now that we've had this good discussion of kind of tweaking what you've shown us to make sure you pull something together with a comprehensive package and come back to us? Just so we,
Sure, I love coming to see you guys.
Wouldn't you need to come back with this tenant-specific signage anyway?
no, it just,
Or no?
I think that it,
In a package, we wouldn't come back with tenant specific.
Okay,
So.
so you'd approve the colors and stuff?
I mean, it's really up to you guys. I think we can.
I just want to make sure everybody's clear on what we've discussed and
I think what we
understand.
do, if you don't want to require her to come back, would be to, Patty and I will go over the package, we'll make sure it's right. Totally lost my words there, but encompassing everything we talked about today, some better images of how that
right.
plate and return is gonna work. And then I can send that to you guys. If you're like, no, that's not what I was thinking, then we burn it back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we do an approval with conditions that it meets, like we sort of do landscaping, that with discussion today. And then that way, we'll get working on it. I can send it to you guys and she doesn't have to come back.
It would be a little more technical drawing as well. So what I'm saying, it would have a lot more dimensions on it than what the pretty presentation here. So height of those panels, maximum height would be called out, letter height, the inset, returns, all of that would be drawn in a spec drawing. We would want to do that for the landlord anyway. And I'll go measure those window to window and make sure we have the max length. That would all be called out for each of those 2 locations. And that's what he gives us tenant. I mean, that's all they can do. But it would be a little more technical than the pretty drawings.
Okay.
Would you still be coming back for, like, the monument sign and whatnot, or would that,
I think
we
I
could
think
criteria
when
it?
Yeah, when that gets.
That may
ready
be
to go,
months.
Yeah, I think we bring
Years.
that back as a different.
That may be a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
we
mean-
bring that back as a different bird, because we'll know what scale is left of that landscaping and, you know, this and that and the other thing too. So I think, yeah, I think we can bring that back later.
Okay. Kind of same building, different topic though. As restaurants go in this first floor, they're going to need exhaust fans and so forth
Yeah,
to exhaust their,
Yeah, they've already done that. The one that's back here, they've
Right.
gone out the back and they did vents.
okay,
They replaced this with,
kind of clear story with a louver or a,
with a green painted, same as the mullions.
okay,
Tracy and I worked on that.
okay, very good.
Louvers back there. None of the turtle shells or, you know, whatever.
Mushroom.
Mushrooms, yeah, those,
Just-
if they have to have it, it's gonna have to go up. They're gonna have
Just
to pay for that.
fearful we're going to have a Meru issue
Well,
come
let's
before
hope
us.
not.
So,
But
A
Yeah.
what issue?
Tracy's got a pretty good hold on the architecture of it, and he was able to say, no, we're not doing that.
So he's actively involved in
He
like,
is still actively involved in
Well, that's
the
good.
Okay, good.
exterior of the building.
Good.
Yeah.
Um,
In fact, they wanted to frost some windows, and Tracy and I met out there. We had to figure out which,
Good.
you know, what frost was best. And so, yeah, the owner has still given him full rights to make changes.
I was referring to the restaurant that took the place of the old Pizza Hut there over near the mall. And I forgot the name of that street. That entrance into the mall that goes by the old
Yeah.
Wendy's and Buffalo
Shake and
Wild
all that.
Wings.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure what that is. North Point Drive, I think.
I think it is. So, yeah. Anyway, there's some.
Yeah, we
What's it
ended
called
up on
then?
that
Oh,
building.
what
Beautiful
was the name
building,
of it?
and then we
Meru.
got 3 mushrooms on top of it that just popped up. As mushrooms do in the spring.
Yes, they just pop up.
There they are.
But they go away quickly, though.
Yes, so these are permanent metal.
Okay.
Silver ones.
All right. Anything else that we need to address for the,
The blades.
well, I guess we can look at the blade
Yeah,
signs.
well,
Are
tenant
there-
blades. These are non-lighted.
Oh, now it's not lighted.
Oh, so not, the other one, I thought we saw that had goosenecks on it.
One.
The big
the
sign,
Previous package did show gooseneck lighting on these.
yeah.
The one that you
Yeah,
said.
that bracket
Yes.
that
Yeah, the bracket had a light.
was shown was, we couldn't find said
Couldn't find it,
bracket,
okay.
and it would be astronomical to custom
Okay, I
fabricated, so.
retract my gooseneck comment.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this looks quite appropriate. I mean, the bracket looks kind of, the architectural character of the bracket looks appropriate to the architecture of the building, and
What's your,
would
what's your
it,
thought on the thickness here, Patty? What's this width?
Probably 3 inches. So it has some, not just a panel, I don't want a thin aluminum panel
So
hanging
it's
there.
got some scale to it.
Yeah.
and would the actual sign be a circle, or would you have something that may be a heart shape?
Somebody may come back and say they want a rectangle, so we put a maximum width and a maximum square
Okay.
footage so that they can't.
The current, sign design guide that I put out is the one that the committee worked on with Patty and Clint, and it encourages, unique shapes.
Create, or, yeah.
Creative,
Shapes.
yeah.
So if it were a heart that went with the business, that they wanted you to try and tie the shape of the sign to the business.
Or if it's
Yeah.
shape of a coffee cup,
Could
or
be a shape of
or
a
a
coffee cup
Yeah.
or
glass of
whatever,
wine
yeah.
or something.
I love those. I think
Something
that's
that-
great.
That tied
Ours
to
is
the
a steel metal M.
But the code still has the square footage,
Right.
which is what she's shown here, not to exceed 40 inches. So,
Okay.
There's your example of a guideline meeting
Yeah.
the code. Yes.
there you go.
Okay. And then you mentioned some areas for, I guess, murals.
We did.
Okay.
Let's talk about this sign
Oh,
right here.
all right. Another blade sign.
I can't quite nail down the landlord on what he thinks, who will get this sign. I mean, he's got 2 tenants upstairs, one rather large one, one attorney and one healthcare and one, I can't think of the other one. But he did go ahead and build in steel plates for us to attach to. I just don't know yet what tenant will go there. Like, I didn't, my question was, did you want to put One Main Street there, or are you going to use it for a tenant? I think he wants to reserve it for a large tenant on the 2nd or 3rd floor. But it's just sort of there. Like, I can't quite nail down what he wanted to do with it. This design was actually from the architect. We didn't change this yet because I needed to see what y'all were gonna allow before we spent much time on designing something here.
Yes, Brett, what would be the size, the maximum size of this building blade sign, I call it, or larger building? Could we-
That's a 3-story building,
It is.
so 60 square feet
Okay,
would be max.
Yeah,
I
that's-
think that's probably too much.
Yeah,
That would be code max. I like the sign, I think I remember Tracy talking about it then, which is probably why I got the steel in, because he likes that look. I think one important thing would be to match the brackets. I think the scale of these brackets would go, or the scale of the other one would go up, but I think they need to match in design.
it looks like they come pretty close.
They're pretty close. They're pretty close, but I think they would definitely need to match. And I like the look of this sign, and what I'm thinking this feels like to me is just a solid plate in the middle with some attached letters, and then a raised border all the way around.
Yeah.
That's what that sort of feels like to me. That just the border is maybe 3 inches thick, and then the 2 bands, top and bottom, and then the letters are just an individual mounted letter in there, no illumination, and go with that. I think it could work if they do want to do some illumination, and Patty, I'm gonna be looking for a job in a few years when I retire, so, but I think you could do LED illumination in this and in this and flush it up and down. And just sort of,
I mean, similar to a gooseneck, but not?
right, just in this 3 inches of thing here, just sort of flush down a LED light that
Kind of
gives
washes
it
it.
some.
It would glow a little bit. It wouldn't,
Yeah.
they wouldn't meet, I
No,
don't
they
think,
wouldn't
yeah.
meet.
They wouldn't meet.
I don't know, they couldn't meet.
Yeah.
I mean, there are streetlights out there.
Yeah.
I almost think you don't need to.
You may not need anything, but there's opportunity.
I'd be more concerned about like who the tenant is and like I definitely don't think it should be a multi-tenant blade. I mean, is there any restrictions on that? I mean, that would kind of make it, I don't know.
It would be really tough to do,
Yeah.
manufacturing-wise, and make it readable, because it can't project out very far, so it's gonna have to be that vertical look. But there's
No requirement.
There's not a single tenant, single thing, so that square footage goes to the building. So he could, in theory, make that no more than 4, but a multi-tenant, but I don't think they ever would.
And then-
I don't think that we would, I think I'd have to turn that over to council as I
Yeah.
couldn't approve it, and I don't think that we could find historic relevance to do a multi-tenant like that, so I don't think it would
Good.
happen.
I don't think it lends itself at all.
I don't either.
And I think it just,
It's a single tenant.
we basically say that the answer is no. We-
Yeah.
Is part of your approach to this blade sign to keep the patina color at the top and bottom, and then have just a single black color on a beige back? I mean, like you've got it regarding.
I like the design. I think
I
it
like
looks
it
good.
too.
Like I said, the architect actually did this, and I think it goes well with the building. And
I agree.
I mean, if we just say this is it, and it's a single tenant sign, so he doesn't have that option of trying to say, well, can I put two? Can I split it in half? And I'm just going to say, no. No. We talked about it, and the answer is no.
And is the intent for this building blade sign to come out at I'll say a 45-degree angle, not be parallel or perpendicular?
Correct. Well,
Okay.
based on the steel that he's put in, it's at a 45. The plates that come out of the building right now are at a 45.
Okay.
So, yeah, we could make it do something else, but it would be costly, and I think the
asking.
45 is the way to go.
And this is the corner that they want to put it on then? That's that north, what is that?
Correct. Yeah.
Northeast corner?
Northeast.
Okay.
I wasn't 100% sure why they put that steel there, but
Well, plan ahead. It's harder to put it in now.
way, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'd kind of like to see what the final sign looks, the final blade sign looks like for this. I know this is just, so you don't know whether is this a certainty or just,
Well, to interrupt a little bit, none of the signage is certain.
Till he signs leases, yeah.
Well,
Until he
but-
signs leases and puts names to it. So the thought of a package is to put a thought together to allow. So if you want this sign, then we say this sign with discussion today. And if he does a sign, that's where it goes, and this is what it looks like, other than obviously the name would be whatever. But it would be green, which I assume matches the
patina.
trim of the building. It would be a cream background that would match the brick of the building. Everything else would be black, including the lettering. And that's what it would be. That's the intent of the package.
understand?
So that they don't have to keep coming back and back and back. If they don't meet the package, they have to come back. And that's still your opportunity to say, no, meet the package. But if they don't want to meet the package, then that's their opportunity, is to come back here and say, we'd rather do this.
No, we appreciate signed packages so that we're not seeing every individual sign that comes before us or changes tenants or whatever.
Patty and I have these conversations like every day, a couple times.
You're on speed dial?
Yeah, we're familiar.
Okay. All right, is there any, all right, I think have we covered all the signage for?
The only other thing would be the possibility of murals. And so, for example, the one I heard you guys were talking about earlier, that circular mural that's in the parking deck. I think his intent there was that might be a tenant mural, so a tenant logo there. That's the feel I got from him. That would not be a building identifier, it would be a tenant logo.
Then that would be a sign, right, Brett, not a
It
mural?
would be, and we'd have to determine, another tenant has opportunity for signage, so, yes.
They'd have to return.
It could be another tenant. It also,
Go to
in this
cultural arts.
layout of the building, if the restaurant tenant on this side goes all the way back, then they could have
That space will
a second.
take that whole side,
Yeah, so.
well, the way he has
so
it designed now.
This tenant is allowed one on, they're allowed two,
And how big what would be the maximum size?
the same as the front, I would say, whatever. Now, the front, we're gonna reduce what they can have up there, but the square footage would be determined,
Right,
the code square footage would be determined determined by their
Street front.
Yeah, so it would allow this one to probably be bigger than what they're getting on the front because we're reducing the front. Does that make sense? So if the tenant is 50 foot wide, they could have 50 square feet back here. They can technically have 50 square feet on the front, but you've reduced that because of architecture and you're allowed to do that. But they could do 50 square feet on this back.
Which is not that big. It
Which
wouldn't
is-
be that big.
yeah. What's shown there is larger than
Yeah,
50 square feet.
yeah, that's pretty big.
Well, you think 50 square feet is 5 feet high and 10 feet long or something, you
Yeah.
know, that's,
I think what we do with these is we don't put this right now in the package. That's my advice. That we wait until the landlord decides what tenant or building name, or if it's just an image. I think they need to figure that out, and then that either comes back here or goes to the Parks Commission.
okay. Because they also said in Patty's presentation this morning, there are other locations for a,
Well,
Like-
potentials.
Potential.
It wasn't that we're gonna put one here, put one here, put one here, but if it's, again, if it's art though, there's no, so,
Well, that wouldn't come here anyway, would it?
no. No. So I think we wait on this until
Okay.
the landlord says, I wanna give a tenant this space right here, and then we bring that tenant back here, and then we add it to the package. At that point.
Yeah, I think one of the ones that I had added was, like I was saying, as you walk up this big wide sidewalk coming
Yeah,
from the
right here.
communities, like right back there, something that is more related to the whole building, not just to a tenant, but, you know, I don't know whether it says 1 North Main Street, kind of an arrow going around the corner, or just something to advertise. Maybe a list of the tenants in that arrow to get people to go up there. They're gonna be using the sidewalk anyway, but to identify what tenants are available. Again, to me, the only two that need, they might not agree with me, but the only two that need retail exposure are the 2 restaurants.
I agree.
I mean, one's a law firm and the, like, Portuguese consulate or something, and then one's, like I said, a medical
Yeah.
health thing.
Technically, they could have another monument sign, so they could do tenants back here on the wall and call it a monument. If council conditions allow that, I don't know, I didn't read council conditions about monument signs, because I didn't think we were, but if they didn't get prohibited from having monuments, then technically they get to.
I'm kind of glad that we're deferring the mural piece because that could have a huge range of,
Yeah, that could be really nice.
yeah.
okay.
I know that we-
Luckily, the space is
I
limited.
think we just,
It's not approved as part of the
not part of the
package.
approval.
Or part of the package?
Yeah, it's not part of the package.
Okay, any other comments or questions about the application or for the applicant this morning? All right, there being none, does somebody want to craft a motion, please? Or motions, how about that, either way?
Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 250013, 100 North Main Street signage package, I would like to make a motion to approve the package with the following conditions. For the sidewalk plaque, the applicant will provide replacement concrete paving in the section where the plaque is being added with control joints to avoid future cracking of the concrete that reflects the architecture of the building. The monument sign will be adjusted in size to a smaller scale and the base will have a 1/3 to, will be 1/3 of the height of the sign. The tenant sign bands above the windows shall allow 2 inches of exposed masonry above and below the sign, which, based on the drawings, will be a background of approximately 16 inches, which would allow 14-inch high lettering. The length of the sign on the east elevation will be limited to a maximum length from the center line of the first window to the center line of the fourth window. The signage on the south elevation will be limited in length from the center line of the first window to the center line of the third window. The applicant will provide a pan with a recessed return so that it appears to be offset from the masonry, but also hide the wiring. The large blade sign will be no larger than 60 square feet. The brackets will match the small blade sign in character. There will be no visible illumination. If illumination is provided, it will be hidden within the bands with LED strips. The sign will maintain the colors as presented to match the building materials. And the murals that were presented will not be approved as part of this package and will be presented at a later date once the tenant or design is established. End of motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Rowan, a second by Ms. Palmer. Very
I think
good.
That's the longest motion we've ever had.
I apologize.
You have a copy, can I have a copy of that motion?
Yeah,
Can you say that all over again?
no.
No, it's recorded, so. Okay. Any further discussion about the motion?
Regarding the wall sign, did you happen to mention that the plate would be a darker color? Like the brick was light and they were suggesting a darker.
Do you want to limit the colors on that main?
We had
tenant?
talked about
You-
that.
yeah,
I
you
just
could
didn't
add
know
that.
if that was something.
We could add that as
Does that,
a friendly amendment.
You can,
So that would be a friendly amendment.
I mean, is that something that you think we should talk, we should?
do we want it, I mean, does it?
It'll probably come out through the process anyway.
I think it should be, could be either way. I think it could be, make it look like it goes away and match the brick color, and,
Yep.
and then a darker colored letter so that it really didn't, you hopefully didn't see as much of it, or completely opposite. I really feel like either one would work. If you all want them to match though, background colors.
The big
then you
thing,
need to specify that.
yeah, the big thing for me was that the brick goes through, like you could see the brick go through, and this is like on top of it. You know, and as long as the colors are within the ordinance, you know,
We
but
just had talked about it, so
Yeah.
that's why.
Do you feel like they need to match?
the signs,
Yes, the backgrounds of those two wall signs.
I do,
Oh, between the two signs, you mean match the back?
Yes, the background.
I do.
Do you feel like
Oh,
it
you
has to
do?
match?
I mean,
If you do, then we need to call that out.
I feel like it does, because that's going to provide consistency, and we've got, that's the same building that it's on, right? I know it's different elevations, but it's providing consistency.
Boy, we're just gonna continue this conversation. My opinion would be if we think they need to match, then I think we go with the white background to match
The brick.
the big
Blade sign?
blade sign as well.
the beige color.
Then I need to,
That cream.
I need to go ahead and go get a color. I'll go ahead and spec a matching color.
Yeah, and then that way the backgrounds, in theory, of all three signs would match. And I think that would be.
And the monument sign is also that color too, right?
The monument sign will have a background too, so it could be that.
I don't mind there being a border on the, you're saying to just let it blend in? If it matches the blade sign, you know how the blade sign's got a border on it? I think that looks fine. And then everything kind of goes together, and then what happens within that can be very brand specific.
Okay, if this is part of the motion, we,
No,
More
this is,
succinct.
this is discussion.
Yeah.
So,
I think somebody needs to do a friendly amendment to wrap that
Do you want,
little.
should we call out what the color is, or just say they need to match?
I don't think we can call it out because we don't know it. I think we leave that to staff.
Okay,
So
so-
to match the building, and Patty and I will figure that out.
I would like to make a friendly amendment that the the wall signs, the blade signs, and the monument signs all have matching background colors and border.
I accept your friendly amendment.
Okay. And since, Holly, since you seconded the motion and you're making the friendly amendment, I'm assuming you approve the friendly
I do.
amendment. Okay. Just for clarification. All right, very good. So we have the motion with the friendly amendment that's been accepted by Mr. Rowan and Ms. Palmer. Any other comments or discussions about the signage package? So you're going to pull all this together. I'm looking at the applicant here. Hand it to Brett or send it to Brett. Brett, are you going to relay that back to us so that we make sure that?
Make sure that I think it is what we discussed today, and then send it to you guys.
Okay. If it
I
doesn't,
don't think that requires a vote. I think that just, hey, this is what we came up with. If you have issues with it and you don't think it meets, then we bring it back. And I'll tell her, okay, we gotta come back, because this isn't what they thought.
okay.
Okay.
All right, very good. All right. There being no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion that includes the friendly amendment, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed? No opposition. So motion passes. All right.
You didn't ask for comment.
Thank you, everybody.
That's right. Well,
There is no comment.
since there is no public, yes, I forgot to take my little reminder note out.
Put that as like the back page,
Okay.
The new
the new guy.
presentation, okay.
Very good. Thank you for
Thank you,
that.
guys.
Thank you for your patience, Patty. Appreciate it.
Have a good day. Looks like
Okay.
you're done.
Might be.
Can I get that thumbs drive back?
It appears that our next applicant, it appears our next applicant, Chutney Express, has not shown up. Do we,
What would be the board's pleasure? I can tell you about it, and I can relay the decision to the owner, or he can come back in a couple of months. Staff's preference, because we have an issue out there that we're trying to solve, would be if you're comfortable with me presenting it. I think we do it, and we get a decision, and I can get them, that just gets him quicker on the draw, getting his issues handled.
well, I think one of the comments, Brett, you mentioned, you don't know whether this addition has a roof on it or not.
I do not. However, we just make, in my opinion, we would make a condition that nothing can extend above
Okay.
the top of it. And if they spec a 7-foot cooler in there, I have to look at the elevations as part of the building permit anyway. So if they spec a 7-foot cooler in there and a 6-foot wall, I'm gonna say, nope, you gotta continue that wall up to the next control joint or next whatever line. Do we wanna hear it?
Yeah,
All right, what's the board's pleasure? Just
I'd like to hear it.
All right, we'll have, all right. Brett, let's go ahead and have you represent Chutney Express this morning.
I got all dressed today, so.
While it's on the agenda.
Can you introduce yourself and speak into the microphone?
Good morning. I'll present Chutney Express for you today. As always, the tenants get the The applicants get a notification, they get about 3 of them from me, as to when to be here and what to bring and all that stuff. And something may have come up with the tenant, I don't really know, but, it would be staff's preference that we get a decision on this because we've got some code enforcement issues that drove this, tenant to come up with this. So, I'm gonna first give you a, that's not it. A street view image of what we're talking about here.
Brett, while you're doing that, I'm going to excuse myself for just a minute to take a quick restroom break, and I'll be back, but we still have a quorum, so I'll be right back.
Okay, this is the back of this is the building. And as you can see, we have an issue back here. When the building was built, there was an ice cream shop in here. It was a very small tenant, didn't need much, had plenty of room for backroom space for stuff. As tenants grew, we started to see this problem with Uncle Mattio's, a little pizza place, and then it's just gone viral, you might say. And so, in fact, right now, there's a big storage container sitting right here. We've told, code enforcement has told the tenant, you can't store outside. You can't have this kind of stuff. So they said, what can we do? And I said, the only thing you can do would be to build a surround to match the building and hide all of that stuff, get rid of your storage unit and do it all in there. And he agreed. We gave him some conditions, then we kind of sort of transferred code enforcement transferred the thing over to zoning and said, can this work? You know, yada, yada, yada. I worked with Brian Borden and we got it figured out where they can do it. I will tell you though that we got a letter from the landlord that there'll be no future expansions. So no other tenants will get this without a city council approval. And we did give them the opportunity to go ahead and remove this one tree. They're over their tree count on the site anyway. These are not even on the original landscape plan. These trees up along here, so they were added anyway. So we told them that the rest of them need to stay, but this one can get removed. So this is the corner where it's gonna go, right here. And I'll go back over to your package. Maybe. There you go.
Oh.
Maybe. And you can see that three-sided structure right here on this tent. What I told the tenant he needed to do was match the building in its design because it was a really nice looking building. And so he needed to just match it, get his architect to match it all up. And that's exactly what they did here. They just brought this wall down. In my opinion, I don't think it needs the top to it. It could just end with a soldier course, such as, or one of these, I don't know what these lines are called. The architects may be able to help me out there, but it could end right on one of those.
Brick banding.
A brick banding and call it good, would be another option. I did say that they need to match the stone base in its height and material. Most of what they feel like they would be able to pull right off the building and bring it out. So they'll have to do a little bit of infill on the side. But also, Uncle Mattio's did some changes. So I think it's material's still available. Door color, I told them to just do dark bronze, as that's the storefront color is a dark bronze. If the board would like a different color on that, then we can go there. I think a condition that we should put that I think the tenant would agree to would be that the height of the wall is undetermined, but anything that goes in there must be contained within the height. And I think we make that a condition, that the height ends on one of the brick bandings, whichever one it is.
There's other rear doors in the building, correct?
There are other rear doors on.
And what color are those? I'd probably just match whatever the other doors are.
That's a good, yeah, that's a good.
They are different colors.
They are different
Oh.
because some of them have, this is a glass one.
Yep.
But it looks like they've got a light colored door on the ones that are still solid, although that one looks like it's gray.
It's like a beige.
So go with the light colored.
I would,
Maybe door.
I would probably not draw attention to it.
Okay.
Are you still presenting?
No, I think that's all that I would have. I don't have any, I didn't bring any material samples because they're gonna match. Sorry, I can come back next month and bring those if you need.
You've been told 3 times to bring them.
I'm sorry. And I don't even know if I can come back next month because I have to advertise myself, and so it may be July, but.
Can you go back to the Google picture, please? Like around the corner, yeah. You can see there on the corner that there's, it looks like some security lighting of some kind, maybe? So what if the wall is taller than, ends up being taller than those lights? I mean, what do you do with that?
Well, this is also lighting,
Okay,
so I'm not really sure why this didn't get put up there.
what's that little white dot above the holly?
There.
Is that,
It's a vent.
oh, a vent, okay. So would,
And that should have gone up, but
I mean, I'm assuming the one that's over the door or facing the rear of the, or on the rear of the building can maybe stay? I don't know. Or it might have to move. I don't know how close it is
I
to the,
think they did it to give some illumination to the parking lot, actually. So
I don't think that one would be disturbed, but I don't know about the other.
this one may have to
Yeah.
either go up or away, but I think they need to just go to the same. If they have to go up, they go up to the same height as these, and
I counted the brick, and it looks like if they went up 12 feet, they could still, no, 10 feet. If they went up 10 feet with this doghouse thing.
they would go there,
Yeah, correct.
okay? And it's going this way, so this one may not be affected,
Yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't
it's just that other one,
yeah.
which they may, I guess, could just leave there and it would illuminate the inside of that.
Yeah, illuminate the inside if it's just an open storage. The thought originally was they would put a walk-in cooler back there and then have he called it dry storage, which sort of lends to it, would have a roof on it, but, I don't know if he would put another container inside there that would be the dry storage. I don't really know. We didn't discuss whether it was gonna have a roof in there. Obviously, if it has a roof, it's gonna have to have a scupper and a downspout or something, because we wouldn't let them do would have to be a recessed roof. It wouldn't be a raised roof.
Well, you remember when, what's his name, for the pizza place, put a roof over their storage? Are you aware that they did that?
The pizza place?
The one that's, behind Never Enough Time, that's been 6,000 things.
Oh, I didn't.
You know, his walk-in where his trash is supposed to be,
Oh, you put a cover over it?
they covered it.
Okay.
And so, and it just looks, it's
Off.
like this, aftermarket coverage, and much like what I think, what's the one, the fancy seafood place? See, I'm losing my mind.
Lapeer.
Lapeer, you know how they had, and I don't think that looks very good. Of course, it's in an alley. So I think, I don't know if we should say, okay, well, it's open, but if you choose to have a roof, especially if you're doing dry storage, then it needs to be like this. I mean, we need to say what it needs to look like.
During the workshop, we talked about that nothing would extend above the top of the wall, so it'd be like a lower
roof.
roof.
And that would include the roof.
And that would include the
If-
roof,
if you
or
have-
any
Any-
materials.
Any projections above?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions about this? Actually, I do have one. Brett, on the front of their venue, the front side, and it may not show up on Google Maps. Oh, yes, well, it does. The fascia of their metal awning right there, canopy, it looks like they've removed those letters and they've just left it, and it looks like it's been hit with a shotgun. There's all kinds of removed,
Well, they weren't allowed to have that.
They were
Removed
not, you said?
paint.
They were not allowed to have that sign, so that they were told to remove it.
Okay.
So I'll just have to give it paint.
yes, it looks like it has been removed, yeah.
It said, eat more dosa.
Oh, yes, I can see kind of the outline of what it,
Now that I know which one you were talking about, it said, eat more dosa.
Is that little
And it now-
light
and
sign,
now
is
they
that the
put it
one
down
that
there.
says the cantina?
On the inside of the box.
I think it says the barbecue.
Didn't you say something about the cantina?
yes, on the side canopy, right to the right there, that, you can see it says,
Fresh cantina.
that's still there. That's
They
been
need to
like,
take that off like they did the front and paint.
Paint them.
Yeah. We're
Okay.
going to do that.
okay, very good.
That's a code thing, they're right. Like
One other quick distinction between the drawing and the actual building is that, and it doesn't show this on the drawing, but there's like a dark bronze aluminum, pre-finished aluminum cap over the top, and I think that maybe that would be a good way to cap the wall is with that
Okay.
matching
I agree.
cap.
I do have, as staff, have a question. Let's just say they need to come to here to cover everything. Is there a height that we don't want them to go to without doing something different like this? Or as long as they stay below here, they wouldn't need to cap it?
The fourth band.
I kind of like, Brett, can you look at the dumpster enclosure? It kind of just has a simple cap at the top. And it could just match the color of what's going on at the building, but it kind of ties in across the way and then to the cap on the building, if it was the color of the cap on the building.
It's,
Just a more-
unfortunately, it's not. I'm looking at a picture. It's a metal coping, basically.
Is that a metal coping?
Yeah, it's
But
just,
maybe it was just a simple, just strip to finish it off, maybe?
When that's what Eric was talking about.
Yeah, I was saying that if you see the dark bronze
Yeah.
cap, if they just did that over the wall, it's
Yeah.
waterproof.
I'm just
But for the
clarifying
height.
that there's not a certain height where we feel like it has to now have this.
I think it's the fourth band.
wait, all right, so which,
Yeah.
Four here.
so.
That one, yeah.
So if it's there, there is no cap or no, let's see, what's the right,
Parapet, or what do you call,
Cornice.
cornice?
cornice of parapet?
Ooh, did I say the right word?
Yeah, cornice, I mean, they're
Okay,
interchangeable.
yeah, that works for me.
The other thing, Brett, that I would recommend is that they start, tell me if this is being too specific, but, these column pilasters, I think they should recess it to the face of the main wall
The main one.
so that the
Front, yeah.
pilaster stays proud.
Mains, yep, especially since there's one right here.
Yep.
Yeah, that needs to stay like a column.
The wall will
So
be,
the wall
Will be in the
here,
plane as the,
the new wall here would
Yes.
be the same depth as this.
yes. Okay.
Yep, I agree.
I think Eric made a good point too in the workshop about the water table and the stone, because there is an elevation change there, going towards the parking lot, that we would maintain like a level, so that they're even
Yeah, maintain
with the
this
building.
as a plumb level line.
So it might be a little
it will be deeper.
wider, deeper at the front, but it would be the same level.
So it looks like it was built at the same time the main building was
Yeah,
built.
it doesn't look like it's sinking into the parking lot.
And then you'll deal with any kind of additional steps or whatever, so, yeah, okay.
Doesn't look like the doghouse that Richard referenced a minute ago. Okay, anything else? All right, does somebody want to craft a motion on our discussion, please?
Do you need to ask for public comment or is that-
Oh, yes, let me do that. Before your motion, thank you for that reminder, Holly. Is there any public comment for this application? Any public comment? No public comment. Okay. We can proceed with a motion.
Mr. Chairman, DRB 250014 Chutney Express, I make a motion that the application presented by Mr. Schroeder be approved with the following conditions. That the door color is maintained in the beige color that it presently is. That the wall be built, the wall that is parallel to the end is built on on the same depth as a wall that is currently there. Anything contained within the storage area does not exceed the height of the brick walls. That the top of the structure has a similar bronze banding that is on the top of the building currently. End of motion.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Palmer, a second by Mr. Owens. Any comments or questions about the motion? Okay, there being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed? No opposition. Motion passes 5-0. All right, thank you for that. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Schroeder. Okay, so just a gentle reminder, our next meeting will be, we're back on our regularly scheduled date, so it'll be May 16th. We've got Taste of Alpharetta on the May 8th. And if you'll think about what committee you want to be on to look at the design guidelines, just send me a text or email or whatever.
Do you want to set 3 committees, or do you want to just
Let's-
see what everybody wants to,
Let's see what everybody wants to do,
what
but
they
we,
want to look at, not
yeah.
necessarily a committee, but what do you want to review?
well, we typically, we look at landscaping, we look at signage, we look at exterior elevations and materials and site plans. So we could have up to 4 committees, I guess, if we want to do that, but think about it, let me know, and we'll go from there. And so next meeting, I'll have, hopefully have all those formed or ready to go. So with that, and with there being no further business from fellow Design Review Board members, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
And I can be part of one or all, if anybody
Okay.
wants to
point.
include my off-the-wall
Good
thoughts.
point, Brett. All right.
And I forgot to tell you guys, thank you so much for being so nice to Erin. She's a really lovely person. She told me how nice you guys were. So I really-
It's only, we want her to come back, so.
So